Goldilocks Productions provides professional internet, TV, and radio shows in the spiritual and New Age genre. Strap yourself in because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
I'm an angel intuitive and healer. I'm very glad that you're here today because this week's show deals with healing after something we all go through, the death of a loved one. And my intention for today's show is to bring healing to you. And bringing her compassionate insight, knowledge, and experience is professional psychic medium Carolan Carey, the Psychic Medium of Sarasota. And Carolan, I am so glad you're here today. Welcome.
Thanks. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. If I were any better, there'd be two of me. I'm
Cool.
so glad you're here. I know this is going to be a show that is so helpful for many people, so thank you for being with us this morning.
My pleasure.
Carolan is a professional psychic medium who helps people around the world, and she does that by giving them messages from spirit and their loved one. She is also a wonderful teacher. I've taken many classes from her, and she's a wonderful mentor and teacher and is just so extremely knowledgeable. She's got her own show here on Blog Talk Radio's Goldilocks Productions. It offers fascinating insight into the world of mediumship, psychic arts, paranormal, and your well-being. She also does what's called platform mediumship, which in and of itself is pretty fascinating to watch. So, Carolan, when does your show air?
We are Thursday evenings, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, weekly, and it's a live show. Sometimes we have guests, and sometimes you'll have me. I did my first show, which we recorded because we were having a little difficulty technically. But this week we have a fabulous guest, Joanne Leo. Psychic Joanne Leo is going to blow your doors off, so please tune in for that show.
Joanne is wonderful, and I know that people will really find her interesting and enjoyable. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Carolan, when I say that you are a professional medium, I know it is because, well, for one thing, you are credentialed. You've had to pass tests to get designated, and I know that you've had to stand before council members in order to pass muster to do what you do. And I also know that you are, I think one of the hallmarks of a professional is someone that continues to learn, to grow, to excel, and to just continue to grow and be the best that they can be in service to others. And I know that getting those credentials was very important to you, and it's also a sign of professionalism. So what are those credentials that you have?
Well, actually, calling yourself a professional medium, I don't know what the standard is for that, but I decided I was, because I had to work and rub elbows with some of the big guys, we call them. Just to go in front of our church board, this was 10 years ago. Okay, maybe that isn't a big deal to everyone else, but to us at the time, we had studied very hard, about 18 months. And the fortunate thing is we learned how to do everything. You'll have a lot of mediums that can work. They can do private readings, and that's the bulk of their work, is really just doing one-on-ones. It's a little bit more difficult to do huge psychic fairs, as you know, as we have done here in Southwest Florida and other places. That's not so easy. There's a lot of commotion going on, and you have people in front of you that you're trying to read, so perfect silence is not going to happen. And you're giving lectures and talks, and everything is kind of the spur of the moment. So you have to be able to step into your role as a spirit medium and do that. Also, we were taught how to do platform mediumship. Some did it, some don't. That's a whole different ball game. It was explained to me by Shauna Spalding St. Clair, who transitioned a year ago, that she was a Lilydale medium from New York, and I had the good fortune to see her and take a class from her, and that really opened the door for me doing that. And she was excellent at what she did, and I identify with her because she could be ruthless but compassionate at the same time, you know. She told you whether you had the ability to do this or not. There was no, she didn't put any honey on this. You know, you're in, you're out. That's it. So that was great. I really appreciated that. But she called it the art of platform, and it is becoming a lost art form. It's not just like John Edwards on TV or who is awesome as well, but it's there's a spiritual element there that you are bringing a message. There's a lot of service when you're trained in a church. So that's the different outcome. I guess anybody can say that puts their shingle out could call themselves a professional, but I think it's more to do with the people you associate with, the type of work that you do, your ethics, your morals, your service. I think that's what I would consider a professional.
Well, I know that your standards are very high, and it seems like you're always setting the bar higher for yourself in order to bring, complete evidence to your client that the person that you're bringing them, the loved one that you're bringing them, is really theirs. And, I've had readings from you, and every single time it's been a joyful experience, left me feeling happy and light, and most of the time laughing, because you are pretty funny. So
thank you.
I love your reading because of that, but because of the fact, when you're done, you feel good about it. And I think that when somebody is grieving the loss of a loved one, that's really important, because, losing somebody you love can be agonizing, physically and emotionally, and especially when a sudden, unexpected death occurs. Now it's a trauma, and there's so much that a person goes through, I think, emotionally, spiritually, even logistically, like planning funerals, doing paperwork, Holy Mother of Pearl. Then you've got the things that are left unsaid, or what if there's unresolved issues between? Then, that's something that can cause lasting suffering. And on top of all of that, now you're wondering, what has happened to my loved one? Are they okay? Where are they? What are they doing? You may miss them so much. You wonder if they're aware of what's going on in your life. And I know that some people take years. Some people never heal after losing somebody they love. And personally, that's why I think that professional mediumship is often an unsung hero of healing, and why that connection with a loved one, even if it's brief, can bring about profound healing. Carolan, you've done, probably thousands of readings, and I know that getting those messages accurately is of paramount importance to you. So can you kind of tell us how do you go about getting those accurate messages?
Well, for me, the philosophy that I was trained in at the Shrine of the Master, which is now Sarasota Center of Light, I had the exposure to some great teachers. We had mediums from all over the world come in and did workshops and that kind of thing. So it was great to see how it should be done. I think you need good examples, and we had that. So that I'm grateful for that. How is it done? All of a sudden it clicked in for me through classes, and people will poo-poo, oh, you trained, I'm a natural medium. I don't need training. I get this in my classes when I'm teaching. Well, that's all well and good that you can hear or see people just like they're standing next to you. But if you can't deliver that message that he's trying to impart to you and find where it's going, all you're doing is seeing dead people. And there's a lot of people on the planet that can do that. You're not being part of service and delivering that message from that departed loved one or helping them. So that's the difference, I think, in quality. Also, I worked with a team. I have Walter Henderson, my doorkeeper. I'm going to talk about that more on my show. And as you know, in my classes, I stress that importance of that relationship. You have a spirit band around you when you come into the earth plane. This is what I was taught, and I believe. And Walter Henderson was my doorkeeper. That's a long story short, but I will tell you on the radio, on my show, or whenever I get the opportunity to blast about him. I love talking about him. You have to have a very close relationship with your guides to be able to do this, because they are there in spirit. So they're organizing on that side. And all you have to do is be willing to listen. And if you have a good relationship with your doorkeeper, that's 90% of the work right there, because they organize and present the people to you. You can ask for more evidence if something's not clear. Everybody in spirit communicates a little differently, just like we do here on the earth plane. So you have to learn their vibe. You have to get what they're telling you. It's sort of like a big game of charades some days, and which makes it fascinating, because some people will send a smell to you. This is departed people I'm speaking of, or you'll hear them, or you'll see them, or you'll feel them. And a lot of mediums are clairsentient, meaning they're feeling the impression. They're not always seeing. So just because you can't see dead people doesn't mean you can't be a great medium. And one strength will, it's just like using a muscle. You exercise one muscle, the other ones start to come in line too. So I think that's very helpful. That's kind of how I do it. I don't know if that makes sense, but you really immerse yourself. Once you take this job on, and it is a passion and it is a vocation, it should be anyway, it's not about the money. I mean, I've done readings in the gutter. I've done them at the VA. I've done them at the Salvation Army. I've done them for homeless people outside of work. I'm not Teresa Caputo. I don't run around up to people and say, hey, I have your dad here. Although I love her, that's not my style. But sometimes people will just need a word. Done readings for free. I've been paid very well. Some I haven't been paid at all. It's a mixed bag. But there is nothing on earth I would rather do. So I hope that answered your question. I'm a little long-winded this morning. Sorry.
Well, it's great. It does answer my question, and it also brings forth what you're saying. Brings forth something that's very important to me, and that is working with people that are in service to others and that are really truly focused in their hearts on bringing the light to other people and helping them heal in whichever way is possible or whichever way is comfortable for them. And you've got a healing background, so you started out in Reiki, like many of us have, and this has evolved into just yet another style of healing for people. Can you give? Let's answer this question, and then after this, we'll take a brief call for you. But in your experience, give us some examples of how a reading has helped heal someone. I know that you've talked before about readings that you've done on, teenagers that have committed suicide, for instance. So what sort of healing effects can you talk about when you do your readings?
Well, I have to thank Mediumship for getting readings from other people. And some of them were psychics, too. They weren't all mediums. I guess there's a fine line sometimes in those readings. I was able to reconnect with my mother, who I had lost at 7 years old. And I was probably 50, maybe, when I did get a message from her, and I got some information from her. Like we were closer and similar than I had ever knew. I really didn't know her. At 7 years old, you don't really know people. And, they're here one day and then they're gone, So there was a huge gap in my knowledge about her. So that helped me tremendously to identify with her and understand who she was. So that helped. Getting my parents came through a medium. Also, my second husband had passed away. I had information from him myself, and then I had it validated by a medium. And so it was very helpful to me because I was very angry at him. I stayed angry for about 10 years. So after I started becoming interested in mediumship and had readings, people, my second husband shows up constantly, all the time, until I really got the message that it wasn't just a question of forgiving him for his faults, and also him forgiving me. It was more of an understanding. Forgiveness really is such a hard thing to do. You have to do it almost every 5 seconds sometimes. And but understanding of where they're coming from, that was healing to me. Just to have the connection and to have them explain what heaven is like. On the flip side, giving messages, I've been able to reassure people that whether their loved one died from suicide or accident or overdose or whatever happened here, to me, these people are not in a waiting room someplace. They are in God's love, if that is what they choose. There are some people that maybe are afraid to go to God's love. Okay, that's a different scenario. But most of the people that I speak to were very happy to be in heaven or on the other side. And I think that is very reassuring when you come from like a Catholic background, perhaps, where at one time suicides weren't even buried in a consecrated cemetery. So I think there's been an evolution in mediumship, in people's understanding, and if I can reassure someone that their loved one is okay and I can help release their guilt about their last moments. People don't understand what heaven is like. There's no hatred anymore. These people have made a transition. That's why I prefer to deal with them rather than the paranormal, than like a residual. These are people that made a transition. They have, just wonderful wisdom to pass on to us about how to live our lives, what's important and what isn't. And I think every time I do a reading, I learn something else. So it's very beneficial to me as well. And if I can reassure someone, the next life in heaven or the other side is absolutely wondrous, and people are safe, and they are with the God of their understanding, and they have learned a lot. They go to life school over there. They review their life. I can understand that because I had a major traumatic accident and reviewed my life, and it did change my life. So if I can bring that to people, I'm happy.
That's beautiful. Because I think the words that everyone needs to hear that's ever lost a loved one. And that's why I think it's so important for people like yourselves to be out there and continue to help reconnect those people, because that's what people need to know and hear, that there's something else going on after, I like to say, we got promoted. So after somebody gets promoted, for instance, there's more going on than we'll know about until it's our time to get promoted. So thank you for that.
And if I can just interject one more thing, you have to reassure people, like if you've lost your husband or your child, this is very difficult, but you need to know that we all come in with a soul purpose, and whether we have lost our loved ones or not, we still have a job to do here. You can't, please, for God's sake, do not spend 10 years in anger like I did. If I can prevent someone from doing that, those losses help to establish what my soul purpose was. We don't know the whole big picture, okay, but we can't. I spent 10 years very unhappy, miserable, because my husband had died and left me. There were times I wish it had been me. I'm sure we can all identify with that feeling when you've lost someone. Mm-hmm. But I came to my own soul purpose. So there's always a beauty in this pain someplace. We just have to stay at it until we find it. We can't give up. So I'd like to pass that on as well. And now I'm going to shut up because I've been talking too long.
Well, no, this is what I want you to do, is to tell people exactly what you're saying. And I just think it's the most important thing you can say. What's interesting when you were talking about forgiveness is, before the show, I pulled a card from the Archangel Raphael deck, who's the healing angel, and just asked, what's the message that you would like people to know today? And what card came up is forgiveness heals. There you are talking about it. So even more validation that forgiveness is is so important.
And it's the hardest thing to do. And you may have to do it several times a day. And several, you think you've got it down pat, and then something will come up in your subconscious or someplace and get you upset all over again. So forgiveness is a really hard task. None of us is perfect. But if we can reach an understanding of some sort, I mean, there are some situations where we can't understand because our brain isn't wired that way. But most of the time, if it's a family dispute or something like that, we have to come to the realization of how they were raised, of what they came from. And then you develop a little bit more empathy and compassion for the situation. You know what I'm saying? It's easier to understand than it is to forgive sometimes. So I always ask people, reach a level of understanding, and eventually the forgiveness will come.
So kind of walk a mile in their shoes.
Right. Not easy.
I think no, it's not. But it also, in and of itself, I think it is when you're going through the process of learning and trying to forgive someone, I think it is also not only healing for both, but it's also a growth period. And by gosh, if you've been able to forgive somebody, give yourself some respect and some credit, because as Carolan says, it is not always easy. So make sure you might as well give yourself some credit for doing it. It's an accomplishment sometimes.
Yes,
Are
it is.
you ready to take a brief call, Carolan?
Sure.
Okay, well, I have someone with area code 805. So
thank
area
you.
code 805, you're live. Hi, who's this?
Hi, this is Donna from California. Good morning. I guess it's
Good
morning with you. Hi.
So
good morning.
Do you have a question for Carolan?
I do, Carolan. I can hear my mother once in a while. She's on the other side. It's like a voice in the middle of my head, and she said I was going to be rewarded about 6 months ago. And then about a week ago, I'm sitting in my daily meditation, which I do for 30 minutes, and a message came in, it's coming soon. And it came in lovingly, and I felt my whole body just fill up with love, and it was lovely. And I have been praying to meet a fellow, to get married, and also for more abundance to come in so that I can go traveling. And I wanted to know what you were picking up, please.
The first impression that I get from your mother, and God bless you for your devoted meditation and all of that. Boy, what a great practice you have. I don't do any of that, so I respect your work tremendously. I am so glad that you were able to hear from the other side, and that's how it works. They are there if we're willing to listen, and you're tuned in. That's great. What I got was something warm, not a monetary thing in particular, even though you asked for abundance. It comes in different ways. Abundance could be anything. It could be a kitten. It could be a bank check. It could be love. It could be anything, abundance. But I got a warm feeling, like a presence of someone else. So that kind of makes me think that this gentleman must be coming forward soon.
Oh.
Now, that's what I think. So I would be attuned to that and allow it to unfold. Don't try to grab the first person that smiles at you. Let it unfold a little bit, and I think you'll be quite surprised. Very pleased that your mother is here to share with you. And she's nodding her head to me, if I have this lady correctly, that's exactly what it is. There's a presence that's going to come in and enrich your life. And she says to me, don't judge the package. So I'm not saying she would send you or have you recognize a not-so-attractive man, but it's a different package than you're used to. That's all I can give you. I feel there's a gentleman or presence here, a love of a person, whether it's female or male. I guess it would be male in your case. Okay, I feel that this is a warm, gregarious type of energy coming in, and I think you'll be very pleased.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, good. I'll be looking forward to that. Do you think, if I could just ask you real quickly, will my finances get a little better because I'm on Social Security, and it's just not enough? I don't have money to do much.
I feel that there is new work for you to do. It's creative. It's beautiful. It is heartwarming. I feel like I get the words die cut, so I don't know if it's like a scrapbooking type of thing, personalized cards, some kind of artwork. But abundance comes in different ways. But if you're looking for the dollars, there's some different ways to make money. That is a very healing expression for you. So it may be your own business. Don't know. But these are things, speak to Spirit in your moments of meditation, and it will be delivered.
Oh, wonderful.
Thank you very much for calling. Sounds like great things ahead for you.
Yeah,
Carolan, this would be a good time to tell people how to get in touch with you for a reading.
Oh, yes, it would be, wouldn't it? I have a new website that I'm very proud of. I had to do it myself. It is Carolan Carey. It's Carolan Carey, Carey.com. Very easy. Also, I has my email on there and my phone number if you would like to reach out to me.
Fantastic. All right, so how about one more call from area code 678?
Hello. Hello. This is
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi. How can I help you?
I didn't understand that word.
Oh, it's Carolan. I was just saying, how can I help you?
Oh, my dad passed, and my dad and mom did. And do you have anything from them?
I'm sorry, your dad and who passed?
My mother and dad.
Oh, your mother and dad.
My dad just last August.
Was he? Is there a chronic illness, like a drawn-out kind of feeling with him? Like it wasn't a sudden death; it was more like a drawn-out illness, chronic illness. I kind of get the impression that I get of him is walking with. I can see one arm swing, like I'm enjoying myself. I'm walking down the street. I'm exploring what's going on the other side. I feel like a soft shirt, like maybe a flannel or something. I feel very comfortable. I feel like a northern climate. It's brisk. It feels good, sort of like our weather here in Florida. I want to reassure you, the words that I get from him, this sounds cliche, all is well. Like, this is better. I can breathe deeply. I'm feeling great. I'm being shown a ring, so I don't know, not a wedding ring, but like some kind of special ring, like a class ring or something that is somewhere here. He's just showing me that on his hand. I have cufflinks. I don't know what they're from. I just want to reassure you that I made it to the other side. Thank you for what you did, and it's time to move on with your life. Don't worry about us. We're good. Your mother, the impression I get from your mother is, and I want to say to you in all due respect, it's sort of like snap out of it, she says to me. Snap out of it. You have so much to offer. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah, I guess I do. I'm trying to get through their estate, and there's little glitches and stuff like that. And
is this a legal situation?
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to navigate. It's okay. You're going to navigate. Give it a few months. What I'm getting also, this too shall pass. I have a wonderful feeling of, I want to say who else I'm getting here is Bill Wilson. Do you know who Bill Wilson was?
Bill Wilson, no.
Yes, the founder of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. There's a tremendous feeling of him around your parents. So I think it's his philosophy, not that they were alcoholic, I'm not saying that, but I think his philosophy about life, the 12 steps, is something that they are bringing forward here. So if it's not your parents, it's someone with your parents, because usually around you I will get a group of people that have passed away. So it's like, I'm sorry to keep bringing up the cliches, but this is what they're giving me. Take one step at a time, one day at a time, dear, and you'll be fine. You will navigate your way through this legal situation.
Okay, because my brother, what did they say about my brother?
Once again, I feel that you're in your power, and you will navigate this. He's more like a stumbling block or a stepping stone. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. Yeah. So just know that, okay? Just hold in your power. You're fine.
Thank you very much for calling. And you should, make sure you check in on Carolan's show, and it's very fascinating. So check in with it on Thursdays.
Okay.
Thank you, dear.
Hopefully that show will work next time, right?
I hope so. I know it will. We had a glitch with Blog Talk, but we're going to be fine this week.
Okay.
Carolan, let me ask you something. You're welcome. How do people know when their loved one is near? Sometimes people don't think they've ever heard from a loved one, or some people get a visit during a dream. But what would be some common things that people should look for to know that their loved one is near?
I didn't know anything about this at the time. Mediumship. It was during when my second husband passed away, Rudy. I had a dream, and I had to go on medication. I had not eaten. It was like 6 months. I just was so ripped up by the unfinished business between us. He died of a heart attack on the train coming home from work. 3.5 years after we were married. So this is my second marriage, and that's how that ended. And I was just totally torn up. I got a dream that we met in a park on a wrought iron bench, much similar to those at the Shrine of the Master, which I didn't even know about at the time. I was up in New Jersey. And he had tears in his eyes. He didn't say anything, but it was sort of, he had tears in his eyes. And it was kind of devastating because that's not like a heartwarming message. It was more kind of upsetting. But I did learn later that is a very common thing for them about 6 months after they pass to show themselves. You might also, in your dream state, and I tell people, if you want to get there again, set that intention at night before you go to sleep and ask to meet them. They have to lower their vibration. We have to raise ours to meet them and see them in spirit. I've had many communicators, deceased, come through and say, come with me in your dreams and I will show you the other side. I will show you heaven. I will show you what I'm doing. So that's one thing. Another thing is they may leave pennies. They may, they don't create the music on the radio, but they will put us in the car at the time that song is playing. They are protective. They may show themselves something that a memory that you can relate to on a billboard, excuse me, a road sign, someone's name. Spirit puts you in a position to see a signal from them. We just have to learn to recognize it. Most of the time we doubt it. They are closer than we know. Does that make sense?
So they can hear us and they're aware of what's going on in our lives?
Yes. Now, they don't just hang around because they have things to do. But as one young gentleman explained to me, they can be in more than one place at the same time. They can go where they wish. Their family is very important to them. So in between jobs, and they all have some kind of job or purpose that they are very happy to do, they will drop in from time to time. They will tell me, it's sort of like remote view, they will tell me where they're entering the home, what they're seeing there. They want their loved ones to know that they drop by. They are aware of the new baby coming, the graduation, the new car, that you're moping around. They can give some excellent guidance as well. So they are around, but you have to kind of tune in to pick up the signals. One of the greatest ways is probably to ask to speak to them is in your dream state. I would say that's probably the most accessible.
And certainly sometimes hard to get those messages if you're in a state of sadness or grief. And that's, of course,
definitely.
when you want to hear from them the most is, 5 minutes after they've left, and that's very difficult.
Yes, yeah. It's hard to be attuned. That's why people go to mediums. It's also the objectivity It's our interpretation, of course, what they're sending us. But people need that validation sometimes. Sometimes they'll go to a medium for validation. Is my husband leaving quarters on the driveway, or this bird that showed up in the backyard, was that from him? You know, that kind of thing. They need validation of what they're seeing. Because otherwise, sometimes you think you're kind of nuts. You know, being a medium is sort of like working with your doorkeeper in particular is like having an invisible friend. And I'm sure most people think I'm too old for that. But I really rely on his guidance to bring forth people in my life, that have passed, you know?
Oh, that's what I think. What a wonderful job Walter has, and all the gatekeepers have too, because you know that's their purpose, is to help make that connection and help people heal. What about?
And you know, they will work there. They come in with us, so they could be working with us. You could be totally unaware. I mean, I didn't realize who Walter was until I was about, 52, 54, something like that. So I had no idea. But they're working with us anyway. So what a thankless job that is. Can you imagine? Trying to send you signals and you're not paying any attention. That's got to be frustrating. But he's very good, and it's not someone that you could – I was very fortunate to find out who he was, his earthly life. It's not someone I would have picked. If I wanted to say, I've seen people in classes, I have Morning Star, or I have La 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 Pocahontas, or I have this or that, and I'm thinking, and I have Walter. I had no idea Walter's scope. I was just like, and my doorkeeper is Walter. Because we had to say that on the platform when we were training. We had to get up and say, and I'm working with my doorkeeper, Walter. Everybody else had these exotic names, and I had Walter, until I asked for hints and I did research based on that, and then I found out who he was. But so I apologize for being so dismissive of him, but it was the best thing that ever happened. But there's so many, the reason I bring that up is there's so much that we don't know that we can learn if we are open and willing. But don't set your hat on, I have Princess whatever from Russia is my doorkeeper. That is usually not the case. So you really have to have your gatekeepers, your doorkeepers, whatever, validated by an expert, someone who does that type of work, and go from there.
Well, we certainly in the Sarasota area know Walter, and I think that he's probably pretty well known for being a gentleman that departed a long time ago. He's still very, very, very much part of the area, isn't he?
Oh, yes, I can't. I don't leave home without him, and I wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for him. So that's an important aspect of the way I teach, and I'm very grateful because he makes me a better person. He really does. Some people will credit their spouse when they get married. She made me a better person. I haven't had that experience. Both marriages aggravated me and brought out the worst in me. But this relationship with Walter as a guide has been tremendous. It's had a very settling effect on me. So I'm a better person than I used to be, and I credit Walter with that.
Wow.
I know. I've talked your ear up this morning. I had my rocket-fueled Starbucks today, so I'm raring to go. I want to thank you for having me on. You're just great. It's a great show, and I really enjoy it.
Oh, thank you. So nice to have you. Carolan, what about pets? What happens to our pets when they move on? We all have that favorite cat or dog or horse.
I get pets a lot, and I didn't ask for that. They just started drifting in. Nothing brings people to their knees faster than having their deceased dog, cat, bird, elephant, horse show up. I mean, they may have had a bad relationship with their father, and their father comes through, and he's not asking for forgiveness, and they'll sit there, he's asking for understanding, or just to say, hey, I'm sorry, I messed up, I love you. My client will remain stony-faced, right? Okay, fine, don't care about him. Okay, just letting you know. The dog comes through, they're bawling like a baby. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
I mean, I miss my little Maddie dog every day. It brings a tear to my eye. I lost him about, 4 or 5 years ago. Now I've had, I have my Marley man, my big man, and I have my little girl. I know that my pets are around. I know they are. And they just started coming in. So when you open one door to spirit, and I'm saying transition spirit, not paranormal, not residual. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about guides. We're talking about deceased pets and people who have made a transition to the other side and have gone through a life review. Many times a pet will come through with your loved ones in spirit, and they are very anxious to let you know, I am fine. They'll give you a shared memory. I had a red ball. I had a blue collar. I liked when we went to the beach. I only ate apples, whatever. They want to reassure you they are okay and they are still around you. And they quite possibly could help you pick your next pet. So, especially in rescue, when you rescue animals, you will see they are lining up your next pet. Like life goes on, but nothing rips people apart more than losing their pet. And I'm glad to deliver that message that they're okay. So, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. And I hope that helps everybody that's lost their fluffy loved ones. How do you feel about taking one more short call?
Love to.
Okay. Then we have a caller with area code 863. So area code 863, say hello to Carolan. You're on the air.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
Good morning. What's your name?
Is Julia. And I'm also in Florida. I'm up by the Disney area.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Thank you. My grandmother passed 2007, and then my aunt, who was like my big sister, she passed in 2013. And I'm just, kind of going through a difficult time right now. And, see if they have any messages.
These two are hilarious, these ladies. I almost feel like, I'm not saying that they were church ladies, but I have the impression if they want to let you know that they are like wearing big hats, like they are kind of making fun of, like when women go to church, they have these huge hats on. This is what they're doing. It's kind of, not that they did this in life, but that's the impression that I get. They're having a ball on the other side. I want to reassure you of that. So this is your aunt and your mom?
My grandmother, who was like my mom. She raised me, basically.
Okay, got it. Okay, so a special relationship. I want to let you know that they're enjoying themselves on the other side. They're showing me a lot of flowers. I'm seeing some iced tea. I'm seeing this hat feeling. She's saying, look around you. What I get from your grandmother is look around you. Where we are, the color is intensified. There's no words to describe the love and the impression. Totally different from the earth plane. But there are similar scenes. There is beauty in everything. And I'm being presented a rose for you. Would you understand what the rose is for?
I just think roses are for love, so I'll absolutely take that.
Okay. I also feel like I want to make something. Eating is a big deal, or making things is a big deal. Cooking food is a big deal. So I have that impression. I'm putting gloves on, too. I feel like, I'm back in the 50s or something, wearing gloves to go somewhere. And I'm talking about perfume as well. Like I want to talk about, like, for instance, Chanel No. 5. Not that I really could afford that, but there's a sense of that classiness with this lady. Would you take that? It might be your aunt that I'm talking to. I feel like there's a little bit of zaniness with these two that I would enjoy. I hope they come visit me again because I would enjoy their presence very much. They support you in everything that you do. And sewing as well. I don't know what that is. Don't be dismayed. I feel like you've had a couple of bad decisions here that you've had to either rectify or deal with. Know that they are with you. You can do this. I'm being shown that picture, that World War II poster of the lady with the bandana around her head, and her fist up in the air. We can do this. That's for you. You can do this. Do you understand what they're talking about?
I know the picture, Rosie the Riveter. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I'm getting that. I had the Rose's River. This is for you. I want to let you know you can do this. What is there a legal battle going on or a job situation? Something that's entangled. The word I'm giving you is entangled. Just have some patience. It's going to be okay. Can you understand that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good.
I actually need to be looking for work. And so
okay, it's going to happen. Pace yourself. Don't be dismayed. Keep going. You're going to find if the first one is a reject, it's for a reason. The best is yet to be. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Have faith, dear.
Thank
It'll
you
be okay.
very much.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure.
That was a nice message. Okay,
well, I hope
what
it's
about
helpful?
Oh, I know it is. It's and it's just it's such a blessing to be able to hear those words of encouragement and support from people that you loved and know that they're still pushing you along and holding you up. What do you think? Okay, so let's say, people that are themselves perhaps facing a departure or their family that, it's a really scary process. What more than anything else should people know about what's coming, where they're at? What should they know about their departed loved ones? What do you think is the most important thing?
I think they have to recognize that life goes on. Love never dies. That's a cliche as well, but one that I use often. Also, what Jack Lemmon had said, the comedian Jack Lemmon, death is not the end of a relationship. That's a direct quote from him, who I think he got from someone else, but he used the quote, and I embraced it. Death is not the end. There's another rodeo coming. There is more to do. We all have a purpose, whether we are now childless, which is horribly unfortunate, spouseless, motherless, fatherless, sisterless. We still have a purpose here, and we need to understand that. Our life isn't over because our loved one is deceased. They're not stopping life. They are embracing perhaps physical freedom for the first time ever. Maybe they had MS or cancer or COPD or bad heart or lost a leg or polio or whatever. They are free in the spirit world to embrace their body, to use their body as maybe they never had a chance to, or as they did when they were younger before they were afflicted. There are no tethers here to Earth. There are no problems, meaning, as you'll learn from the Aramaic, our Father says, let me loose the tethers that bind me. There is nothing to hold us back in heaven. We have to let go of our fears, our hatreds, all of that. That's why I embrace speaking to the transitioned, departed, those that have embraced God's love in particular, because that changes us. None of that matters. Enemies become friends. I hate to make it sound like it's, all lollipops and rainbows. It's not. There's hard work to be done over there. There's a lot of acceptance. But life goes on, and they have a purpose, just as we do here. We can't give up as much as we'd like to. And for some people, they have to give up. They just don't have the strength. I get that. There's no judgment here. But for most of us, we can't wallow in the grief process any longer. We have to move through the stages. And I say that not unkindly, but because I got stuck for at least a decade, if not longer. I wish I had known what I know now, of course, years ago when my mother died when I was 7. I wish I had known that. But I embrace that fact to know that she is still in heaven looking out for me, giving me a hard time. My mother could be quite blunt. I've been told I'm very much like her, and I really didn't know her that well. So she can relate to me, and I can relate to her. And we're both like grown-ups now, you know what I mean? So I learned a lot about heaven from the people that are there, and I cherish that wisdom, and I pass that on, that we have to accept that we do have a purpose here, and that embrace life is beautiful, and there is beauty in agony, and there is beauty in the pain, but we do have to accept and find our purpose. And as I related, I found mine, and I am ever so grateful. But it wasn't easy. It was through a lot of loss. So there you go. I hope that I can at least impart that to you, and that your loved ones are having a good time 90% of the time. So.
Well, thank you very much, Miss Carolan Carey. Thank you for sharing your insight and your wisdom, your experience, as I know it's going to help a lot of people. And I look forward to learning more and hearing more from your show. So what's coming up next for you?
What is coming up for me? Well, I'm embracing this new show opportunity Thursday evenings. I'm absolutely delighted to be able to do it. I can feel like I'm back at the Sarasota Center of Light. Reverend Jim Toole is the only pastor I have ever had, and I've been through several over there over the years, that has said to be yourself. I've never had anybody tell me to be myself, ever. And I don't know if he's sorry now that he said that to me, but it's kind of funny. You know, I always had to be something else. I wasn't acceptable the way I was. I was too brash. I was too rude. I was too impulsive. I was too something. Too short, too fat, too old, too young, too something. And I'm so glad to be able to embrace myself and find myself. Who would think at a retirement age I would just be finding myself? But that's the truth. And I am so happy to be back there doing platform and doing psychic fairs and helping promote education there, and hopefully being of service and enjoying my radio show, my big dog and my little dog and my cat, my family, and my friends. So I am so grateful for this life here in Sarasota. I never would have imagined when I was in 5 feet of snow up in Pennsylvania that I'd be down here doing all these things. Never thought. So, you know, hold on, because you don't know what life is going to bring. You really don't. So, and God bless you for having me today.
It's a beautiful lesson. You know, all the things that you've gone through have led you to where you are now. And so sometimes It's just the school of hard knocks, isn't it? So you can't give up because you don't know how that's going to change your life or that of somebody else in the future. So thank you very, very much for being with us today. And I know that you've helped a lot of people and will continue to do so.
Well, thank you for having me. I know I'm not an easy guest. I'm very opinionated about mediumship, and as soon as you ask me about that, I'm off like a rocket. So thank you for indulging me today. I really appreciate it, and I love you, and I love your show.
Oh, I love you too. And thank you, and a big hug.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for listening today. I hope that you've gotten some healing insight today. A reading from a professional medium is just one way to help heal from the death of a loved one. There are also many grief support groups, hospice, friends, family that will help guide you through a very difficult time. Everybody handles grief differently, right? So there's really no one way that is normal or right, but reaching out to your friends, your family, or professionals that can help is of the utmost importance. You don't need to go through it alone. It's something we all understand, and if everything that I've learned so far in my life, we're not escaping. We're all going to go through it at some point. So with that in mind, what I would like you to do is to consider reaching out to someone that's grieving. Send them a card. Send them a pizza. Give them a call. But it's the thought that matters, and you never know how much of a difference you can make even with just a simple gesture. There's a wonderful, compassionate, and very loving angel named Azrael that brings comfort and peace to those that are going through the dying process or the grieving process. He's the angel that lovingly escorts our loved ones to the heavenly light, and he brings incredible warm light and peace. And I can swear to this personally. So please be sure to ask Archangel Azrael for help. If you'd like a reading with the angels, give me an email at laura@angelsandhealinglight.com or visit my website, which is angelsandhealinglight.com. All right, now your homework for the week. And I told you last week you're going to get homework every week. So this week's homework is to make sure that you say, I love you to the people that matter. Now, if you have trouble saying it, then get Stevie Wonder to sing it for you. I just called to say I love you. And you probably will never ask me to sing again, and that's okay. But you'll remember what I said. So just please tell the people you care about that you love them. Fix any unresolved issues with people. Ask for forgiveness. Give forgiveness. It's tough, but please do it. It's so important. Most of all, be the brightest light you can be. Don't forget to play and have fun. Go play. That's really important. So wrapping things up, I am very, very excited to bring next week to you Ms. Joanne Brokus, who is an incredible spiritual healer and teacher, and a lady that hails from Wales. Sorry, that just slipped out. I didn't mean to say that. I'm very excited. She is an author of several books and a person that is very dedicated to helping others heal and also to teaching other healers to help people. So I really look forward to her being with us next week, and I look forward to you being with us next week too. My goal, again, is to help you and make this show something that makes a really wonderful difference in your life. So if you have any questions, any comments, anything you'd like to see, hear, or know, don't hesitate. Send me an email, and I look forward to catching up with you all next week. Don't forget your homework. Say I love you to the people that matter. Forgive, forget, go play. Many blessings. See you next week.